All right, welcome back to the I'm There podcast, guys. I'm your host, Freeway, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Kenny.
Every time. It feels so good. It feels so good.
And today we are going to do a recap of the 2022 Game Awards. We actually brought this up for the first time in our God of War episode. So recently, for the last 3 episodes or something, I think we did God of War 1, 2, 3 in 2018. And in that episode, we talked about how God of War Ragnarok was nominated for Game of the Year, which I think is pretty controversial because that game just came out. So it has been a month now since it came out, but it was announced as Game of the Year, as a Game of the Year candidate / nominee, the first week. Literally week 1, 7 days had passed, and the list of awards and nominations had come out, and God of War Ragnarok was on it, which I just don't think, and we said this in the episode, but I just don't think God of War Ragnarok should be nominated for Game of the Year, and it came out in November 9th.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Elden Ring, Stray, and all the other games that are nominated, they all came out at way earlier. There's been at least 6 months for most of them that they've been out. Whereas God of War came out the week of nominations, and it's nominated for multiple awards too. It wasn't just Game of the Year. We didn't know at the time when we recorded that episode.
It was nominated for fucking everything it could be nominated for. It was nominated for. And
spoiler alert, it wins everything except Game of the Year. Every category that it's in, it wins. It wins all but one category. It kind of swept the Game Awards, which is to me, I just think that it should have been in a 2023 Game Awards because it came out so late. But if you want to hear more about that discussion and just more about God of War in general, because God of War is an awesome game. If you want to hear more about that, just check out that episode of the podcast that we did already.
The thing I wonder is I really wonder how much. Yeah. I really wonder how much backdooring happens, because I wonder if they were I wonder if they just kind of wanted to force it into this year because they thought their best chance of winning was this year, and maybe they didn't want to go up against Zelda next year. So they were well, Zelda comes out next year. We want to
we kind of said that too, because Zelda is a award darling, but I think that the interesting thing is that Elden Ring is also an award darling.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, right?
No matter how you look at it, and it's a tough spot for everybody. I think Zelda, if Zelda was in this year, it would be bad for Zelda, Elden Ring, and God of War.
Yeah, it's tough for all.
No matter how you look at it, right? It's tough. All of them are equally as ridiculous as far as Game of the Year goes. And if all three were in the same, I don't even know what people would vote for, because I don't have a horse in this race. I don't play Elden Ring, although recently I kind of was okay, maybe I will actually try it. But I don't have time to yet because I'm still on God of War Ragnarok, and I plan to play Breath of the Wild. But at some point I was man, Elden Ring is still getting expansions and content and stuff like that. I don't think we're desynced. Do you feel like we are?
Okay. No, I don't know. I just wanted to. There was a part where it felt like I was over talking you, but it felt like it felt like on my end I wasn't over talking you because you weren't talking, but then then you were. It was weird.
Maybe there may be. I will just make a edit point for this right here, which is really early on. So what are we Yeah, we're 3 minutes in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. Though, it is a weird spot to be in because you're sandwiched in between God of War and Elden Ring, and Zelda comes out the next year, and Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year when it came out. God of War won the year after that.
Yeah.
So Elden Ring was the wild card here.
Yeah.
As far as how is this going to perform against the 2 games that had already won Game of the Year, right? That's kind of where Elden Ring fell, and Elden Ring comes out, but Tears of the Kingdom wasn't announced when Elden Ring came out. So Elden Ring was we're just going to release this game, this amazing game apparently, and hope for the best. And the best happened. They got Game of the Year, and I think it deserves it off the basis that as a person who still has not beaten God of War Ragnarok because it literally came out 4 weeks ago, I just think that it should not have even been in the category. I'd rather have seen it go up against Zelda, and there's a full.
Yeah, that
Zelda's
coming
awesome. Zelda's coming out next year in May or June, and that is plenty of time that by November of 2023 for it to be nominated for Game of the Year, and then God of War would have been out since November of the prior year. obviously plenty of time for that to be nominated as well. And then those two go head to head, and Elden Ring just like sweeps this year. But whatever, this is what we got.
This is what we got. November, I said this in the God of War episode, but November needs to just be the cutoff. Like, if a game comes out November 1st, like, it should not be included in that year's Game Awards. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I think you even went as far as to say, like, October is even... I think your cutoff in the podcast was, like, August 31st or something.
Maybe like not August. August is wild.
Yeah, like, maybe... Well, it goes from year to year. So it would be September 1st of the last year to August 31st of the next year. So it's 12 months. But, like, there has to be some kind... Because if the Game Awards are going to be in November, it just seems... silly. Because even the Grammys have a cutoff. Like, albums that are released in November are not nominated for Grammys in the following year. With Grammys are like February. So you can't win a Grammy if you release an album in November. Like, that doesn't work like that. You have to wait until the following year after that to win a Grammy. And I think that makes sense. Like, I think that to say album of the year came out November 24th and like the Grammys are February, and you're telling me that an album that came out in November just like wins everything, or
it's also like
the biggest award. It just seems weird.
I feel like when something is like of the year, you have to be able to think of that as it being representative of the year in some way. Like, if I look back on God of War, like, it came out in 2022, but it doesn't feel like God of War was part of the public conscience through 2022. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas, like, Elden Ring was part of the public conscience throughout this entire year. Like, since it came out, it was been referenced and talked about, etc.
Bro, this whole year, I honestly feel like has been an Elden Ring year. It's the biggest game that I heard about in 2022. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm trying hard to think about other games, and I know a lot of other games came out. Triangle Strategy came out. Xenoblade Chronicles came out. Pokemon came out, but also the same problem as God of War came out in November. There's a lot of games that came out this year, but I think Elden Ring by far is the biggest game that came out this year as far as just people talking about it. And what if I was to be 5 years in the future, right, 2027, and people are saying, like, what was the game of 2022? Like, what game do you think about when you think of 2022? It would really be Elden Ring. Like, honestly.
Even if it didn't win the award, right? Like, if you look back, it's like, oh no, it was Elden Ring. Like, they were wrong. Like,
yes. Yeah, like, it was just Elden Ring. Elden Ring came out very early this year, and I've seen so much content on YouTube about Elden Ring, and I do not play the game, but all the channels that I follow, like, I follow a lot of gamers, and I follow a lot of channels that just cover games. Mostly Monster Hunter pages, but they happen to they all switch from doing Monster Hunter to doing Elden Ring content, and that's been down my feed all year. Like, I've watched a few of them. Like, it'd be like, oh, this is my blood build or whatever, and I'm like, I just want to see what this is, and I watch it, and I'm like, okay, this seems interesting, and I move on. But yeah, Elden Ring, rightfully so. I think game of the year went to. We already kind of said this again in our God of War episode. So the Game Awards start off with Al Pacino coming out, and I love Al Pacino. He's Scarface. He's an iconic actor. I love the man, but it was so funny and awkward because really early on you could tell he was reading off a teleprompter, and I'm so glad that he blatantly just said, I'm having a very hard time reading the teleprompter right now, and everyone's like laughing, but then they start clapping. You know how people do.
Yeah.
And he's really trying his hardest, but he clearly just cannot read it. And
he's old. Like, when he came out, you could tell he's old. Like, when he came out, I was like, it's like, damn, he really is old. And then, like, the way he's talking and stuttering and trying to read, and I was like, my man's old and don't give a fuck. I love it.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. He's very old, to the point where when I stared at him, I kept trying to see Scarface in his face. Because he's so much younger in Scarface. Like, his hair is, like, black. And he just looks very, very young. So as I was looking at him, I was like, this is Scarface. Like, this is the man who plays Scarface, but he doesn't look like Scarface anymore. Like, he just looks like he looks like somebody's grandfather. But he came out and he had this really awkward speech because for the most part, like, he was still trying to read off the teleprompter, even after telling us that he could barely see it. So all of his lines were delivered really exasperated pauses in between, which made the speech all the more awkward. And at some point, he announces the award for best performance in a game, which is basically just like a voice actor performing their job. And it goes to, which I didn't know, this is really cool to me. I did not know all this time that Kratos was black. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I never knew at any point that I know that Kratos was black. Like, not just black. Kratos is like a dark-skinned black man. Like a fucking, he's my complexion.
He's the man, yo. Like, he's the man.
So
it's got
Christopher Judge gets up there. So he is nominated alongside Atreus. And it's really cool. They're sitting next to each other at the Game Awards. Atreus is actually played by a little white kid. It's like a teenage white kid, which makes sense. I even heard that they had to do some voice editing to the actual Atreus actor because he aged up so fast between God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok that his voice got a little too deep for what they wanted for Atreus in God of War Ragnarok, and also the pandemic slowed down the development of God of War Ragnarok. It was supposed to come out earlier, but 2 years, all that stuff. They even brought up like how they had to work from home, and that caused a lot of problems. But the game still obviously came out fantastic and stuff. But Atreus's voice had to be scaled back to sound a little younger than he actually is. And when I saw the kid who plays Atreus, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. It is a kid, like it is an actual kid playing him. But again, I just didn't know that. I did not know Kratos. I'm really good. I kind of pride myself on knowing when someone is black by the way they sound. It is weird as that may sound, but like I usually
I get what you're
hear
saying.
Like, this is a black. Yeah, like not no weird way, but in a way,
just like a familiarity.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I can't say that word.
Familiar. Yeah, I'm not even.
Yeah, fuck you too, bitch. Yeah, Fraser tried to sun me real quick.
No, I'm just. It's not easy. Familiarity. It's familiarity. I think it's not easy. It's not easy to say. But yes, I was just surprised that Christopher Judge, he is indeed a black man. So he gets up there, and at first, his speech is going well, and the first thing I noticed about him was, oh shit, I understand why he won Best Performance. This guy, using his normal speaking voice, does not sound anything like Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
His normal speaking voice, because his speech is 10 minutes long, his normal speaking voice sounds absolutely nothing like Kratos. It was almost to the point where I thought it would have been really cool if he would have went into Kratos' voice at some point
just to do it,
during his speech. God knows the speech was long enough because it started getting awkward. So in my notes, I actually have written down the speech goes way too long. It gets to a point where I started to put my bed, because I was in bed watching this morning. I put my sheets up to my face and kind of hid under them because it was so cringe after a while.
Oh no.
It was so cringe how he just kept going. And you could tell that the audience, there was like way too many applauses. There was way too many applause. Like everything he would say one thing, he'd be like, and Sony Santa Monica. And then they just start clapping. Then he'd be like, and to our new leader, and it'd be some guy like Kevin or whatever. And he's like, and then they clap. And then it's like, and to everyone who helped to make this project a success. And then they clap again. And he would just keep doing like these moments where it reminded me of a Donald Trump speech. Every time Trump says one thing, he stops and he kind of waits for the applause and then he continues. so the whole speech, which is again 10 minutes long, was fucking cringe as hell. After the first like 4 minutes, it becomes everyone in the audience starts to like kind of smile and look around like, all right, guy, like you're kind of up here. I could tell he's a theater student. You could tell he's a guy about like, theater students are very dramatic. He's a very dramatic person, and he just goes, and he's all emotional. It sounds like he wants to cry at one point. And then here's how you know it's too long. The music comes on after like 9 minutes.
So I wanted to talk about this, right? So he goes up there, right? And he goes up there, and I knew Kratos' voice actor's black only because somebody had told me before, like, I don't know, like at some point, I think it was like when Ant was streaming the first game, somebody in chat like mentioned that Kratos' voice actor is black, but I never saw what he looked like. Like he looks like Kratos. Like in terms of like his body mass, like he could beat somebody to fuck up. I also loved his outfit. I thought his outfit was clean as hell.
He had like a lot of gold on, and his hair was gold too.
Yeah. So he goes up there and he's doing his thing, right? And you can immediately tell that there's a lot of emotion in it, and it means a lot to him. Like you can tell it. And so I was like kind of brought into it really quickly, just because I really liked how much it looked like it meant to him, and like he really took this seriously, and he was super into it. And so when I started to realize like, oh, this is going kind of long, I was like, you know what? Like, good for him. Like, this means a lot to him. Like,
I said the same thing.
Yeah, and I was like,
I was 4 or 5 minutes, and I was like, I appreciate that he's up there. And then that 4 or 5 minute mark, I was like, I can.
it got awkward because I was like, good for him, man. Like, let him have his fucking moment. And then, like, after saying that, like, another 40 seconds passed, and I remember I was streaming it, and I was like, you know what? You know what's really cool? I was like, if this was the Oscars or something, they would have kicked him off stage. The music would have started right now.
100%.
They would have got him out of here by now. And then, like, I was like, you know what, man? Good for him. And then, like, another 2 minutes passed, and then I remember out loud saying, like, good for him. Like, I said it again, but at this point, I was like, he needs to wrap it up. Like, but I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't go back. I was like, I was already rooting for him. I can't now tell him to leave. But, like, at some point, he's got to wrap it the fuck up. And then they did. Finally, like 10 minutes in, they were like, all right, we got to put the music on this man. He's not stopping.
Then the craziest thing, Kenny, the music comes on and he goes another 2 minutes. He goes 2 minutes with the fucking music on, dog. Like, he goes 2 minutes with the music. And what's funny about that, the music made it like
epic. It made it epic, yeah.
Yeah, it started making his speech better. And I was like, no, this is not how this is supposed to go. You were not supposed to turn a cringe speech into, like, now it's starting to sound epic because the music was playing and people are clapping and he got really emotional. He's talking about his kids and he said, you guys are the best role I'll ever play. Like, being your father is the best role I'll ever play. And I was like, oh, that was a sick line. Like, that was amazing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was borderline crying. But then when the music came on and it was 2 minutes and he still was going, I got nervous. I said, oh, he's going to wait until somebody physically removes him. Like, and
good luck to that.
I didn't know if he was ever going, right, because I would not. But I was like, this guy is going to wait until someone has to physically. I was like, he's trying to make a moment out of this. Like this is going to be the most talked about thing at the award show. And it was the first award. Like, it was literally the opening of the show is awkward Al Pacino moment into awkward Christopher Judge moment. And it made me very tense.
It's funny too, because, like, they said before it started, I don't know if you would have seen this or not, but I'm sure you heard it read
about the Switch,
the Steam Decks. They were giving away Steam Decks every minute, and I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. Like, every minute, I was like, they must have a lot of backed up supply. Like, that's so many Steam Decks.
I think the same thing, because after his speech was over, I don't know if you heard what the who started the Game Awards said. He comes out and he goes, shout out to Christopher Judge, that was a really great speech. I'm really happy for him. He's like, he really must have wanted to give out a lot of Steam Decks, and he starts like laughing. He starts laughing too.
That was funny because as it was happening, that's what we were saying too. I was like, he's trying to give us extra Steam Decks. Like, good looking out.
Maybe that was part of the plan. Like, I wouldn't put it beside him. He seems like a people's person for sure. I wouldn't put it past him if he had an ulterior motive to be like, one, he wanted to make a lasting impression. Because I think that out of everyone who came out, even the kid that came out at the very end, I think Christopher Judge's speech was probably like the biggest award acceptance of the night. Like,
for sure. And I still, no matter how awkward it got because how long it was, I still really appreciate it. And I hope the rest of the internet kind of appreciates how much you can tell it really meant to him. Like, it meant a lot to him. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, he borderline cried. So I totally, like, I agree with you on that. It did mean a lot to him, and that is really cool.
Hold on, before we go to the next thing.
He leaves the state.
So before the next one, this happened at the start, and I'm sure you saw it throughout the award show, because I think she was still there. But she was there, like, in the pregame show more. And I don't want to do this, because I don't want to be mean, but you being the fashion guy, I have to ask you what you thought about that girl's dress. Did you see the girl's dress? Damn, was she not in the normal show? Did you see the girl with the dress? She looked like she was wearing a Kids' Choice Awards rug.
Oh, I don't know if I saw that. Maybe I did, but I don't really remember it. But there was a lot of questionable fashion at the Game Awards, if I'm being honest. Like, outside of people who just wore suits and were boring, the people who tried to do their thing, definitely kind of looked a little awkward. But yeah, I at points I would just kind of go in my phone because it would be in between awards or in between things. So after Christopher Judge, for example, when he steps down and the guy who really runs the show comes back on, I would look down because at that point he's just saying, he makes his jokes, he talks about how he wanted to give out a bunch of Steam Decks, and I'm like, well, I don't need to there's nothing visual for me to really see here, so he probably panned over to whoever you're talking about at this point. Also I want to say this about Christopher Judge. So we did say, well, I said at least, he does not sound like Kratos. That is just I can understand that he can make his voice sound like Kratos, Kratos, but as someone who just played God of War Ragnarok last night for 5 hours, like I literally just played it, and I went to sleep playing it, and then I woke up to watch the Game Awards and hearing the first guy that gets up to speak is him. Hearing Kratos last night and then waking up to hear Kratos, and I'm using air quotes here, was very jarring, but that's a good thing because that speaks to how well his voice acting is. More importantly, though, him being so emotional, whereas Kratos is like very solemn and just stoic and not at all like the actual voice actor, makes the performance even more insane to me because the actual guy playing him is really nothing like actual Kratos. Like, sure, Kratos cares about Atreus a lot, but in fact, the part that I was at last night in the game, they were arguing. They had a on argument, and Atreus got angry and like went to his room and closed he slammed the door actually. Like he was pissed. That's kind of like where I ended off last night. And then Atreus was like talking about how he hates his dad a little bit. Not hate, but he was pissed. He was visibly teenager angry. And I don't know, it's just really cool seeing how the stark difference between Christopher Judge and Kratos, I think is really awesome. So I just wanted to leave with that note. But yeah, the next thing they show is this really cool animated trailer fight thing between a witch and like a rogue thief looking character. And they're going at it, and this shit looks cool as hell. It kind of reminded me of Soul Eater because Soul Eater has witches in it. And they were going like balls to the wall, crazy fight scene, spells, and all kinds of fisticuffs and wand moves and like traps. It looked really cool. I had no idea what I was watching, and then apparently it was Hades 2. And if I recall, Hades won a lot last year. Like, Hades basically cleaned up the way like God of War cleaned up this year. I remember just seeing Hades winning a lot of stuff. So Hades is a really big game, and watching how it's actually played reminded me of some of the games that you play, Kenny, because you play like these games on Switch that look very similar in the way the levels are set up.
Yeah, so they're called roguelikes. Hades is 100% a roguelike. It has a lot of the same shit that they all have. So they're really, really fun games. One of the best things about them is how hyper replayable they are. Like, a lot of times you can just play it for an hour and then like, all right, like you do like a run and that'll take you like an hour or whatever, and like you lose, and then it's a good opportunity for you to like stop playing, or for you to like do another run, and it's just like this kind of burst game that you can do. So they're really fun games. When that trailer started, I was like, holy shit, that looks awesome. And then as it kept going, I was watching with Ant, and like I started to recognize the art style. I was like, Ant, is this Hades? Because he streamed Hades. So I was like, is this Hades? And he was like, it kind of looks like it is. And then we saw the I don't remember what it's called, but like the crown, like the olive crown, you know what I mean? Like that they wear like in Greece or whatever, or at least in Greece fiction. I don't know how real it is. And I was like, I think this is Hades. And then when they showed it was Hades 2, it was really hyped because the art in that game is awesome. The first game was really fucking good, and that trailer just like absolutely killed it.
The trailer, the witch was OP as fuck, and like she ends up beating the rogue, and right before she delivers the finishing blow, she stops and says, "You did well." And then Rogue gets up and she's like, "Not well enough." You know, like that kind of. I'm mad at myself. But the best part to me was when I think that she like kicks the witch backwards, and the witch does this thing where she kind of like slows down the momentum of the kick, making her go back with her wand, and then she takes her leg and creates a circle on the ground, and she jumps out of the circle herself as the rogue comes in for an attack, lands in a circle, and the second she lands in a circle, this fucking glyph comes up, and it's like a fucking bomb explodes of green energy, and then that's kind of the end of the fight, basically. I thought that was so cool. Whoever did that trailer, whoever put that together, amazing job on that. That visual was, it intrigued me so much, and I was like, damn, this game looks fire. And granted, that's not like gameplay, but then when I saw the gameplay, I was like, oh, this is like again, I didn't know what they were called, and I was going to ask you, you said they're called roguelike, right?
Yeah, roguelike games. It's the word rogue and the word like, because a long time ago there was a game called Rogue, and it employed a lot of these features, and people called games like this roguelikes. Even though they've made a lot of evolutions since then, that's still just kind of what they call the general genre.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, this game looks awesome. I've never played Hades, but honestly, it's something that I would play. And the difference between Hades and the ones that you play, I forget. So what are the names of the ones that, like the one where you cast spells and shit? That
Wizard of Legend.
That game looks awesome. What I can say is Hades is basically Wizards of Legend, but with a lot of money behind it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about it when I was watching. I said, "Oh, this is basically the same thing as the game Kenny plays, but you could tell the budget is so much higher.
Yep.
Like, not that it makes it a better game because of that, but the art and the levels, the level designs, and the way the spells looked, and the way the enemies looked, and everything was 3D.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is just like this is a very high budget version of the game that Kenny plays. So
the first Hades did very well. A lot of people really liked it. As you said, it swept a lot of awards last year. And the gameplay is really fun and addicting. Like, roguelike games are just so awesome because you can just play them, do runs, and it never feels like the game's dead. Like, sometimes you take breaks from them. Like, I haven't played Wizard of Legend in like 2 months, but then I can always turn it on and just play it, like, whenever I want, and it never feels like you have to get back into it. You, like, pretty quickly are, like, back into the game, and you just, like, do a run, because you don't have to pick up on a storyline or anything. You just, like, do a thing, and, like, you go with it. It's cool.
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting, and I've never played any of those kind of games, really, in my recent memory. I think I used to play stuff like that on Sega. Excuse me.
Oh, and Hades actually does have a pretty good story, too.
I believe it. I mean, just that little part between the witch and the rogue looked interesting enough for me to be like, I would play something like this. Like, I would try it out. The next thing was a really cool game, in my opinion. It looked like it was a trailer, and it was for Bayonetta Origins. And as someone who loved the Devil May Cry franchise, and also loving God of War, like beat 'em up games, like games where you get swarmed by enemies and you kind of like fuck them up, but you try to do it in a stylish way. Bayonetta is definitely one of the best ones to be in that genre. And I never really knew where she came from. Like, I do not know where she came from. So now they have a game where they show her as a little girl, and that's really cool. There's like a whole origin story for how she became this crazy witch.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool concept. I don't know. It's interesting, like, because I haven't played the Bayonetta games all the way through, and I want to play them all the way through at some point, but, just time. Yeah. But I do always find it really interesting, because you have this established character. I know she was already established in Bayonetta 1, and in that game, as far as I know, they don't go much into her. I'm about to copy Fraser. I gotta sneeze. Oh, fuck. Excuse me. All right.
What's happening right now?
I don't know. I don't know. Something happened. But anyway.
Contagious.
She was already established in that first game, and so seeing that they're doing a full origin story game, and the thing that I like is it's not just like an origin story where they're cashing in and like reusing an engine. Like, obviously what they're doing is a lower budget when you look at the way it's stylized, but I really feel like it fits the idea of a witch origin story. The way it looks and everything feels like it really fits thematically, and I'm really interested to see how that goes, because she's like this cute little girl that seems really unsure of herself in this upcoming game.
Yes.
And it's really cool that to see that and then like, oh, cool, look, we'll see how she kind of gets to like this really cocky, snarky, like, person she is becomes.
Very cocky. She's very arrogant, and in this game, she's looking for her mother, I think was the premise of it.
Yeah.
She's trying to find her mother. So you're right, though. The character that she is in the Bayonetta franchise, and then the character that they showed us for the origin story are very different. Mm-hmm. So something has to happen to make her the way she is later on. And I think that is interesting enough. And like you, I've not really delved too far into the Bayonetta games, but I've always kind of respected them as another version of like Devil May Cry. Like, you have this centric, really cool combo heavy game, a really cool looking character that has like magic and can fight up close and all this other cool stuff. But I never really got into it because I was like, well, I've already played Devil May Cry. I kind of have my fill of that and I only have so much time. But yeah, I respect the Bayonetta franchise. And yeah, she also ruined Smash 4, so there's that.
She did. We were just talking about that
moving
the other
along.
night is we were talking about how if Smash 4 got to live long enough, like, she'd be hated more. I don't know. Like, luckily she came out when Smash 4 was dead. You know what I mean? Like, Smash 4 was dying when she came out. So like, if she was part of the game for longer, like, it would have been bad.
Yeah, Bayonetta would not be well received. Just because Smash is, the most popular like fighting game, and it would definitely have a negative impact on her perception overall, not in Smash, but the character in general is what we're basically saying there, and I agree. After this, they kind of go for best indie game, award for best indie game, and the only thing I noticed is that the game Tunic, which I got to watch Anthony play on Critical Hit Plus a couple months ago, it's kind of like a Zelda game, but you're playing as this little fox, and it's definitely inspired by Zelda because it's fucking called Tunic, and he's wearing a tunic, and like Link is wearing a tunic, and pretty much every Zelda game. And
the inspirations are clear.
I thought it was really cool watching him play. It's very clear that it's based off of early Zelda games. Like, there's no question. And so I was enjoying watching the gameplay. It's definitely a game that I would play. Like 100% when I was watching him play it, I said, this is something that I could see myself getting into. So I saw it nominated for Best Indie Game. I didn't know anything else in that category except Tunic. But then I saw Stray won. And Stray is nominated for Game of the Year as well. A lot of people were saying, and I couldn't tell if they were being serious because people would write LOL at the end, but a lot of people, when I looked at comments and stuff about Game of the Year, would say Stray should have won or give it to the cat. The cat needs to win this. Like, people will be, there'll be arguments between Elden Ring and God of War all over. And then there would just be someone coming in and saying, give it to the cat.
I want to say something.
And fuck Elden Ring and fuck God of War. And I don't know if people were saying that just because. Well, go ahead. Right there.
So, Stray is a cool game. But, like, you're just a cat. Like, the game is that you're a cat. And I've seen the sentiment from a lot of people that played it, at least the people that I know. I'm not talking about streamers and YouTubers and people that want to have a personality. Like, I saw some of my friends stream it who are just like my friends. They just are streaming for fun so their other friends can watch. I've seen and like other people that like I know through my stream, like I follow their streams and I've seen some of them stream it, and I've just seen people play it and like heard their opinions on it, and it's like, oh, it's cool because you play a game as a cat. But, like, that's about it. Like, other than that, like, the game's just... Yeah, you're just a fucking cat.
You're saying... Yeah, you're like, this is not Game of the Year. Like,
stop. Like...
And it's not an attack on Stray, but it's just not... It's not Game of the Year.
Yeah, like, you're
not
just
against
a goddamn
Elden Ring,
cat.
not against... Like, if we agree that... Like, if we... Not agree, but if we accept that God of War is in the category, if we... Like, Elden Ring is in the category, there's no way that Stray... is in the same category. It's just not. It's not given that.
It's
the way
cool,
I'm interpreting.
But it's just like the internet loves cats, so they need to relax. Like, it's just because ooh, haha, cats are cool. Like, I don't know. People need to relax.
The internet loves cats, except actual Cats the movie. Like, the internet does not like the fucking that movie got bought. But everything else, you're not wrong. The internet does love cats. All right, moving right along. Destiny 2 had a world premiere, and the trailer actually looked really cool. I didn't know what I was watching at first because I'm not a Destiny player, and I really don't play shooting games, more like first person or third person. I'm not too big into shooting games. So Destiny 2 had a world premiere trailer. It looked really awesome, and then when it said Destiny 2, I was like, oh, that's cool. Not for me. Moving right along, I saw the DC emblem come up in Warner Bros., and it was basically a tribute to Kevin Conroy because he just recently passed away. So they had this trailer from the Suicide Squad game, and the Flash was getting like, I don't know what happened, but somehow this regular looking person just had the Flash.
Dog, I'm tired of it, by the way. I said this while I was watching it. I'm fucking tired of the Flash continuously getting caught by randos. I don't understand how a man that can run back in time just gets in these situations. Like, what the fuck?
Neither.
What the fuck, Flash? How does this keep happening? Like, I just feel like in every media, movies, etc., Flash somehow gets in this situation that, like, Usain Bolt would be able to get out of. Like, like I don't understand how the Flash gets stuck in these situations. I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that when I was watching the trailer and I didn't really know what I was looking at, I kept saying, how the fuck did this regular looking guy capture the Flash? Like, how did that happen? Also, am I frozen on your screen?
Yeah, I think so. Here, I'm gonna just leave the call real quick and rejoin. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
I don't know if that'll help, but whatever.
All right. All right.
Hello.
We'll disconnect and reconnect as well.
Righty. All right. Hello.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think here we are. I think we're all good.
Yeah. So I had the same exact question though about like how the Flash is getting captured by what looked like a human being, and with no real context to what I was looking at, it didn't dawn on me until after. I was like, oh, that's right. The guy who voiced Batman for several years and in several different forms of media is no longer with us. So rest in peace to Kevin Conroy. And they said that this would be basically the last thing that he did voice before his untimely demise. So yeah, this game coming out, the Suicide Squad game, his voice will be on it, and then I guess that's it as far as him showing up in media.
Unless they deep fake him.
Yeah, which we know that they like to do that too. But on a brighter note, the next thing they showed was Best Adaptation. The award for Best Adaptation, and it went to Arcane League of Legends, and the other thing that was nominated for that was Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I thought they were those. Yeah, they were both great nominations.
Yep. Either one of them could have won. I do like Arcane a bit more. We did a podcast on Cyberpunk, and we did a podcast on Arcane League of Legends. But Arcane ended up winning it, and I really like that show. I still think about, I don't remember her name. It starts with an M. It might be Mercedes, but I doubt it. But the one girl whose name starts with an M, she's like, it's definitely not Mercedes. I'm just going to call her Mercedes. The one girl who's like, she's a black chick. And Kenny and I both agree that the...
I'm sorry.
She was fucking insane looking.
She was so... First of all, like, not just how pretty she was, but also, like, her outfit and, like, the shit with her hair. Like, she had, like everything about her, head to toe, was, like, amazing. Awesome design, stylistically, everything was just so good.
I agree. She looked amazing. So, yeah, Arcane League of Legends was really good. I like the backstory for Jinx. I liked a lot of things about it, and I'm excited to see season 2 of that. Again, I've never played League of Legends in my life, but I enjoyed the adaptation so much that I'm willing to just watch through the entire show for as many seasons as they do without having to actually play the game, because I think it's that good on its own. It's like, that's exactly what adaptation should be, though. It should be able to get someone in it who doesn't even know anything, and it will enhance if you have played the game or like know the other lore. But if you haven't, you can still totally watch it and it's good. I think that makes a good adaptation always.
I agree.
The next trailer that they showed, a world premiere. Yeah. The next trailer they showed, the world premiere was for Jedi Survivor. And this game, so I don't really play Star Wars games like that, although I used to on my PSP back in the day. Star Wars games always look fucking sick to me. Like, especially the ones where you play as a Jedi or a Sith Lord and they give you unlimited power, essentially, it looks like a sandbox game. This one was no different. The main character was just doing shit that I was wondering to myself, how the fuck is this even programmed? Like, he would throw his lightsaber, it would cut off a robot's leg, and then he would call it back, and the robot would be on its, like, bended knee, and then he would slash the head off of it. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, is that a move that you do? Is that something that all the robots can be caught by? Like, how does that... It looked so cool, but it looked more like a cinematic than it did gameplay, but it was gameplay.
That game looked really fun. Something I wanted to just point out, and I don't know, it's not something I'm used to yet. It's cool, but I don't know how I'm going to feel about it if, like, every game continues to do it, is at some point, because I guess this game's a sequel, and I never even saw the first one, but at some point I see the main character's face, and I go, oh, that's the kid from Shameless. Because, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Shameless on Showtime, but I was like, that's the kid from Shameless. His name's Ian on the show. I don't know what his real name is. And I was like, is that supposed to be him? And then, like, it turns out, like, yes, he is the voice actor. Like, that person is that character's voice actor, and they made him look like him. And I think on one end that's really cool, but a lot of games are starting to do that and continue to do it, and I don't know. I just don't know how I'm going to feel if, like, next year another game comes out and it's like, here's another game with Idris Elba. And, like, because today they showed a game with Idris Elba in it, and, like, it looked like Idris Elba, and it was fucking awesome, but it's like, I don't know.
I'm noticing this trend as well, where games have come out recently. There was a game that had Samuel L. Jackson. You know, he's playing the character he plays in, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that is cool that in the game, it's also the same exact person. He looks exactly like Samuel L. Jackson, everything. But video games are still fantasy, and they're supposed to not be, you know, akin to real life. So the more they start to blur that line, I am wondering how I'm going to feel about it too.
Yeah,
and I have been thinking about that
because
I don't necessarily want my game to be representative of real people.
yeah, because look, we have that in actors and movies, right? And like, it's fine, it's the way it is. But I don't know, it's just weird because I don't, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being old, but I don't know if I want to have. I don't know if I want to be able to look at Vin Diesel and then I play all these different games, and now it's like imagine 10 years from now you play the next God of War and like it looks like Vin Diesel instead of it looking like whatever Kratos is. It's like, oh, this is Vin Diesel, and it's like,
or it looks like fucking Christopher Judge, who again, he's a pretty big guy, but he doesn't look like Kratos at all.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? It could end up taking roles away from people in some ways. Because maybe they're like, well, we can't have Christopher Judge do it because he's black and Kratos isn't black, and like,
right. And not only that, but Christopher Judge, that role was meant for him. Like,
oh yeah,
he the voice that they chose for Kratos 2018 is the voice of Kratos. That no one else was supposed to play Kratos but him.
I agree.
Firm believer in that. So so I agree with what you're saying in that it could rob us of shit like that, where you don't get your Christopher Judge Best Performance Award because they gave it to fucking Vin Diesel, who looks more like Kratos than Christopher Judge does.
Yep.
So I'm not exactly a fan of the actor having to look like the actual character. Like, I get it, Lara Croft being Tomb Raider and then Angelina Jolie being the actor. That was cool. Like, they do look very similar. Like, I think that Lara Croft looks like Angelina Jolie. Does she need to, though? No. And I don't want us to keep blurring that line where every game, and it's not that far yet, but I don't want games in general to start thinking that in order to like be successful or to draw in an audience, they need to actually pull a real life actor celebrity to make the game like to draw, because that's essentially what we do. That's the movie game. The movie game is we're gonna make Tom Holland. He's gonna be the actor for what's the movie that we just reviewed recently with Anthony?
Uncharted.
Where Tom Holland playing the main character from Uncharted. He looks nothing like him.
Not at all.
His name is Tom Holland, so he's going to draw a lot of people because he's Tom Holland, and the video games are starting to kind of do that, and I'm not a fan.
That's also something that happened with the animated movie industry, where like animated movies at one point were just like given to like these really talented voice actors, and not to say that the people doing them now aren't talented, but the animated movie industry started to pivot toward like not just getting a really talented voice actor, but getting an actors whose name like it's got to be Bruce Willis or Angelina Jolie or whoever. Kevin Hart, yeah, like it's got to be Kevin Hart or The Rock or who, like get a big name that to be a voice and sell the movie that way, because like this guy is the voice. And not to say they don't do a good job, they do, but there's other people that like maybe could do a better job, but they just don't have as big of a name.
And I would like to see opportunities given out to different people as opposed to just The Rock and Kevin Hart basically being the voice of like everything now. Yeah, because that's kind of what's happening. I love both of those people. I get that they're a big draw, but it is unfortunate that them being the voice actor for everything kind of takes away from the opportunities that other people may be given. But that's a different conversation that we could have at another time. But continue with the Game Awards. Earthblade looked really cool. It looked like Hollow Knight, a game that our friend Medina used to play a lot, and a lot of people like Hollow Knight. It looks like that. I don't know what those kind of games are called. It also looks like that Metroid Dread game. It has that vibe to it.
So it's funny that you say Metroid is that genre. Now, this isn't like an official term, but this is like a fan term. But that genre is called Metroidvania, as in Metroid and Castlevania style games. They call those games Metroidvanias, and it definitely did look like a Metroidvania.
I like that without knowing these things, look at these game trailers and say to myself, this looks like X, and I'm right on the money.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Because that means that they're doing a good job at emulating what they're basically inspired by.
Yep.
They are doing a good job at making it look similar so people is recognizable, but it also is different enough where it separates itself from just being a ripoff of something else.
Yeah, and that game Earthblade looked cool. That's made by the same studio that made this game called Celeste. And Celeste is
pizza.
Stop. Just you stop.
It's really
right
cheap.
now.
It's really cheap pizza that you can buy from the market.
It's also an incredible platformer, one of the best platformers ever made, in my opinion. Indie game, and it also has a really heartwarming and touching story about like this girl overcoming anxiety and stress and like depression and all this other stuff. And basically, the story is like she's going through all these things, and like her life is like this jumbled mess of depression and anxiety, and like kind of get over it and like do something different. She wants to like go just like climb this mountain. And then she goes and climbs this mountain. She meets other people going through things, and like the platforming is you getting to the top of this mountain. And it's an awesome game with a heartwarming story and just incredible gameplay. And so when I saw they were making another game, I was almost immediately sold because I was just like, I already love these guys, so I'm super interested in whatever they're making next.
Yeah. All right. Next was Dune. So we did a podcast episode on. Yeah, we did a podcast episode on the first Dune movie, which I thought was fantastic. Well, I shouldn't say it's the first Dune movie. It is a remake of the original, but done very, very well. So it's the one that came out in like 2020 or 2021. But Dune was a great movie. I really, really enjoyed it. A lot of people said it was slow paced or whatever, but they set up a nice world. A lot of the first movie was just world building, and I think they did a really good job. It's starring Timothée Chalamet as the main character, as Paul. And this is an open world survival. They use the word survival. Open world survival MMO. So I don't know what they mean when they say survival. I'm guessing, I'm going to take a stab at it, that you have to literally find food. You have to rest. You have to like fight off enemies. You have to like defend your home or wherever you make your camp and that type of game. I don't play MMOs. Frankly, I have an addictive personality and I'm afraid of MMOs.
Yes.
But I don't exactly know how well a Dune open world survival MMO is going to do. It does not interest me in the least bit. Maybe there is an audience
opposite
for
from me. I was like, this game's dangerous because I don't want to play MMOs. But everything I saw and like what they said, I was like, fuck, this game looks... I don't know. Like,
so you feel like you could lose your life?
I was like, this sound. Now, granted, it could come out and be like some shitty point and click stuff. Something like on top of me not liking MMOs for reasons me and Fraser have already discussed. Most MMOs I wouldn't become addicted to anyway because I think their gameplay is just fucking sucks. Like, I just think like point and click gameplay is like really not interesting at all.
Yeah.
I don't think that game is going to be this though. I think when this game like really comes out, I'm going to really feel like I want to play it. I'm going to do my best not to play it because I know it'll only be bad for me if I do. But yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, oh boy, this is scary.
Yeah, I have to hard agree. I just kind of looked at it and said to myself, this does not interest me, but it's because MMOs in general don't interest me. And then they use the word survival really strongly. I was like, I really don't want to be fighting for my fucking life. So I'm gonna just leave it where it is. But I do like.
Can you hear that?
Wait till the second one comes out. I did not hear a single thing. No.
I think it's. Hold on. It's definitely being picked up on OBS. It sounds like there's a fucking explosion outside. Hold on.
All right.
I don't know what that is. It sounds like it's dying down. It was so aggressive.
Oh, well, the noise gate on your Discord did a really good job of picking up zero of it. I heard nothing.
Yeah, Discord's wild.
Discord is wild because the way you reacted to it sounded like it was crazy, but I did put an edit point at 47 minutes. All right, so we still have a lot to cover here. The next thing was this game called Forspoken, which looked like another kind of witchy game. The demo looked really decent. I probably won't play it because I just rarely play different video games these days.
That's the thing with a lot of at some point, like, there was a lot of trailers being showed. I remember at some point I was just, like, kind of rocking in my seat because, like, they showed some trailers I liked, but then there was a lot of trailers where I was like, oh my god, okay. Like, this is cool, but, like, okay, like, whatever. Like, let's get to the point. And then it was weird, too, because at some point, like, I'd be seeing a trailer and I'd be like, are we watching commercials right now, or are we watching the show? And somebody made a funny joke saying, like, well, everything's commercials. Like, the show is already commercials, so this is a commercial for our commercials. And it's like, it started to, like, really, like, kind of grind me down, because it was like, sometimes we were getting actual commercials in between our scheduled commercials, and I was like, this shit's wild. Like,
I agree. Forspoken was just kind of like, okay, this looks cool to people who are into this type of thing, but I didn't really care for it. After that, there was a really sick trailer for Genshin Impact. And this is a gacha game. This is the most popular gacha game in the world at this point.
Yeah.
And I do not play it. I had interest in it before it came out, but then I was told that it was a gacha game, and then I found out what gacha games actually are. And I decided to stay far, far away from that because I've already pulled out my wallet for Pokemon Go.
If MMO makes you, if MMOs make you like lose your life, gacha games do that, but they take your wallet with it. They're like, you're gonna die and not have anything to leave your family. Like, you won't leave your family a fucking dime.
Yeah, and mind you, again, the trailer for this Genshin Impact expansion or whatever the fuck it was, when I tell you that this shit looked amazing. It looked amazing. Okay, here's what I thought it was. I thought it was a Tales game. I thought it was a new Tales game coming out. That's how amazing it looked to me. And then come to find out it was fucking Genshin Impact. I was like, okay, like, you know, for the Genshin Impact community, the game's been out for 3 years. I'm sure that they go up for that shit. They love it, and they have all these different builds and all these different heroes and stuff, and they just it's their life, and I get that. For me, I have to stay far, far away from that. So I kept it moving. But then they announced that Hideo Kojima is actually in the building. He's actually at the Game Awards. God, the guy who made Metal Gear Solid. I love Metal Gear Solid, the franchise. I grew up playing it. I grew up appreciating it. I know he went through some weird shit a long time ago with Konami. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid is, like, obviously that is his life's work. That is his magnum opus, right?
And if only...
That's his magnum opus.
If only that was it. If only we could just close the book at Metal Gear Solid. Because the game that comes next...
but the guy who made the game... Okay, so the guy who made Naruto, like Kishimoto, he also went on to make some shit called Samurai 8 or something like that, and that did not do well. And so for some people, you know, you get a Yu Yu Hakusho and a Hunter x Hunter, right? But a lot of people don't have that lightning in a bottle twice thing. Like Mob Psycho and One Punch Man are made by the same guy. It's rare that people can live up to their best work, right? And so, yeah, this new game that's coming out called DS2.
So
it starts out with a woman holding a baby. Go ahead.
Have you heard of Death Stranding? Because that's what this is. This is a sequel to Death Stranding. And first of all, I'm pat myself on the back. That's like the first time I said the name correctly in 100 years. I always get the name wrong. I call it like The Walking Dead because it has the main character of it has like Norman Reedus in it. And it also, like, the game is about just walking around and things dying. I also call it, like, Dead Walking, Stranded Walking, Walk Stranding, like... And I don't do that to be funny. I legitimately can never remember the name of the game, and I know it's, like, something in that realm. But that game, a lot of people pumped it up and got excited for it because Kojima does these weird, like, things that people get excited for, but that game is just not... good. It's a bad game. You fucking walk around. It's a Papa John's game. You just walk around and you have a ladder and you do random shit that doesn't matter. And I don't know. I think that game sucks. I thought it sucked before it came out. Still think it sucks. Didn't look interesting. It's just like this really esoteric game that Kojima wanted to make to be like cool and esoteric and different and out there. And it's just like no one cares. And the trailer
they showed was very emotional looking. Like the woman is coddling a baby, and then some people start coming in that are armed. She runs away, punches some stuff into a keypad, runs away more, gets on a motorcycle type thing. She's riding away, and then she gets knocked off of it. The baby is just kind of in the middle of a ring of fire, literally, and she's bleeding and crawling towards the baby. And then it looks like somebody shoots her, and you don't know what happens to the baby. Then you see Norman Reed, like the actual fucking human in the video game. Norman Reed. He's just in the video game, and he looks exactly like him in real life. This is, again, what we're talking about, though. This whole, like, using a real-life person as a video game character instead of inventing a character, which is now, I'm just going to use the word lazy. I'm just going to say it. Like, you're no longer creating something from scratch, which definitely takes a lot more work and effort, right? To create a personality, to create a person. You are now just saying, well, this already exists, so I'm just going to have him come in and clay him the fuck up and put him in my video game. And not only will I do that, but that'll draw people in because I'm not creative enough to just use my imagination to create a character from scratch like Kratos. So I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. This is the second trailer we've seen where real life celebrities are like in the fucking game. And yeah, I will not be playing Death Stranding 2, but the trailer did look cool, I guess, in the sense that,
I hated it.
It looked interesting. It looked like a movie though. It looks like a movie.
That's what it is. Everybody, like, I don't know, I'm not gonna say everybody, but me and Ant, what we were saying about the first one is that it seemed like Kojima had this really cool idea for a really interesting book or a movie, and like he just went off with it. And then 2 months before the game came out, somebody was like, "Hey, this is really cool, but like you still have to make a game."
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Oh shit! All right, just make them walk." Like the gameplay is just like walking around, like you just fucking walk, and it's like just make a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he would do a really good job making a movie at this point. But yeah, that was that. Okay, so the next is the Game Award for Best Narrative. Elden Ring and God of War were in this category. I knew that it was going to go to one of them two. It went to God of War. God of War Best Narrative.
I think that's fair too. I think it's fair to say God of War. Granted, I haven't played or beat either of these games, but just based on what I know about them, I think it's very fair to say God of War probably has a better narrative than Elden Ring. Even if you say Elden Ring's Game of the Year, I think it's very fair to say that God of War has a better narrative.
Yes, well, I can vouch for the 15 hours I put into God of War so far. The narrative. So I don't know. Maybe it's because I took a break in between playing 2018 and when I ended it and everything. But God of War Ragnarok, playing it from start to where I am currently, the narrative is fucking brilliant. Like Odin and Thor and Atreus reveal as Loki. I'm not going to spoil anything right here, but like, because I'm not even at the end of the game, I'm nowhere near it. But where I am in the direction the game is going in, and Atreus being a teenager now and having his own real personality, and him having rebellion in him, and him also being now he's officially mischievous like Loki's supposed to be, the god of mischief. I'm seeing it now. It's so cool. The things I'm seeing, but from a narrative perspective, 100%. Yeah. God of War, 100% from a narrative perspective. This game is doing some things that I'm still wondering, like the conversations they just have when you're walking around. There's no real quiet moments in the game. When you are just walking around trying to figure out what you as a player want to do next, because it's not open world, but it is open enough to where you can go to the storyline or you can just wander off and do whatever you want. And there's a lot of side quests. So it is kind of in an open world sense. And the things that you can do on your own, they just start talking. Mimir, Atreus, and Kratos, they just start having conversations. And the conversations are sometimes really wholesome. Like, for example, there's a conversation where Atreus is talking about his facial hair coming in. He's saying, hey, I have some, I have some hairs coming in above my lip. And then Mimir says, are you sure that's not just dirt? And like, they laugh. And Kratos is like, boy, pay attention. And it's just like little stuff like that. Being a teenager when you're a little boy and you first start to notice like your armpit hair and your mustache starts to come in a little bit. And Atreus noticing that about himself and then bringing it up. And then Mimir saying, are you sure it's not just dirt? It's such a thing that like people, like old heads used to say that to me when I was eating. There's like, oh, you got some dirt above your lip, youngin'. And like, it's such a wholesome moment. And so narratively, watching this boy grow up from the first game and seeing how he's a teenager now and watching him still grow up and be rebellious like teenagers are, I love it. And so when this game won narrative, I was like, well, yeah, like duh, right? Like it was a duh moment for me.
For me,
moving along.
I wasn't even mad. Like, I was happy God of War won. Or happy that it won, over Elden Ring, because like I already said, in that specific category. The only thing I was mad about, not that I wanted it to win, although it winning could have been nice, but I was just mad that Xenoblade wasn't even nominated for Best Narrative. Like, some of the things where it's like, because I don't have any horse in the race, I'm a person that in general doesn't super care about the winners of Game Awards, but I do like at least to see certain nominations so that things get a certain respect. Like, for example, there was a nomination for Best Strategy Game, and Triangle Strategy wasn't there. And I was just like, because Triangle Strategy was at the Game Awards, I forget exactly which category it was in, but Triangle Strategy was at the Game Awards in a category. And so, like, it's not like they didn't know the game existed. The game existed, they knew about it, it was there. So the fact that they had a Best Strategy Game, and Triangle Strategy wasn't even nominated, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And not to say that it should have won, it should have been nominated, but on top, like, it was an incredible game, great narrative, blah, 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 but, like, it should have just at least been nominated, and, like, stuff like that annoyed me. I was like, what? Why wasn't it just nominated?
I agree with you in the sense that getting a nod, right, is definitely something that games should get when they deserve it, because the nomination means a lot. It's like recognition.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you might not win the category, but the nod means a lot too. Because then people say, like, this game was nominated, Grammy nominated artist, Grammy nominated Oscar nominated actor. So that the nod does mean something. Like, it actually is worth something. And if nothing else, it's recognition that you did a great job, and it might have gone to another game, but we acknowledge that this game was great. And these categories aren't, from what I can tell, they're not limited to a certain number of spots. Yeah. It's not like they're like, oh, there can only be 5 slots, and these 5 were better. Like, some categories have fucking seven games, and some categories have 5 games. Some categories have 4 games. So it's not that. It's like, I don't understand why it wasn't nominated either, because from the people who play Triangle Strategy, I've heard that it was brilliant as far as strategy games go and storytelling and stuff. So I'm not really sure why that was missed. Just maybe an oversight, and that kind of sucks. Tekken 8 had a world premiere trailer, and yeah, it looked good. It was typical, Jin and Kazuya going back and forth, fighting each other, going in their devil forms, destroying cities. I saw Jack, I saw King, I did not see Heihachi, but I saw a lot of the familiar faces that you see in the Tekken franchise. Didn't really see too much actual gameplay though. This was more so like all cinematic as far as what I remember.
Yeah, it was,
maybe, you know what? Sorry. There was gameplay, but like, okay, I'll just say it. The gameplay looked a little too extra. It had a lot of effects on everything. Like, when they would do a regular uppercut, there would be like all this flashing light stuff on every hit, to the point where I couldn't tell that it was real gameplay. Like, it looked Kingdom Heartsy with the effects, like the light effects, the light particles. That's what I'm looking for. It was too many particles going on. Kind of the same issue I have with Monster Hunter Rise. Just like a lot of particles, and it didn't look like a fighting game in the sense that, like, I couldn't clearly tell what was happening. There was a point where I saw a lightning uppercut, I think, and it just had so much shit, like energy lights and stuff on it, that I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then it would go back to cinematic. So it kept doing this back and forth thing.
Yeah, it's funny because they said, like, this was the official gameplay reveal trailer, and, like, I was really excited for that. And to me, it's like, yeah, sure, I saw some gameplay interwoven in the trailer, but just didn't really feel like a gameplay trailer. It felt like a trailer that had gameplay in it. Like, to me, a gameplay trailer is like when the gameplay is the focus, and you can really get a feel for what the game's going to play like. But that's not really what I feel like I got.
Yeah, I did not feel like it was a gameplay trailer either. I feel like it was what you said, which is a cinematic trailer that had gameplay elements in there. But that was no different than the first trailer that we saw. We saw a trailer for this a while ago, and it literally would go from cinematic to them fighting, and then we couldn't tell like how it would just go into this thing where it would be cinematic again. And I was hoping to God that it wasn't actually like that when you play it, because I remember Mortal Kombat games being like that, and it's cringe. When you're in the middle of a game, a fighting game, and there's something jarring that you can't turn off, it creates a cinematic in the middle of it, it's really annoying. Like, that shit is not fun. It's actually one of the things I don't like about Smash Ultimate. Like, I love Smash Ultimate. I love it so much, but the whole kill screen thing, which is not even guaranteed, bothers me so much, because it does take you out of it for a second. Like, when you see a fake kill screen, some people rust their controllers, which is like, that's more of a casual problem, I guess. But I don't like how Fox's back air essentially always triggers a kill screen, but Fox's back air never kills anyone. Like, 90% of the time it just does not kill, but it always triggers the fucking kill screen. That is annoying. It's jarring. And if a game is going to do that thing where, like Dragon Ball Budokai, that franchise, you hit somebody real hard, then they start fucking flying through the city, going through buildings, and it's like this whole thing. I don't like that. I never have liked that. I know that Dead or Alive used to do shit like that, where you could destroy the environment and it would create like this whole cinematic part of the game. I just never been a fan of that. I just want my fighting game to consistently be me versus the player and never a break in the action. And so when I saw the Tekken gameplay trailer a while ago, and it would go from Kazuya versus Jin, and they'd be fighting, and out of nowhere become a cinematic again, I was like, dear God, please don't let the game actually be like this, because that's just not a fighting game to me.
Yeah.
That's how I personally feel about games where you hit somebody, and at some point they like switch it into a cinematic mode. I don't I don't want my fighting game to have a cinematic mode.
Yeah, I'm fine with it if it's like if it's like story mode or something and you do like cool cinematic things in story mode, usually I'm fine with it. But if I'm doing like a competitive versus mode, I definitely don't want like cutscenes to happen during my fight.
Yeah, like I just like Street Fighter. Like I like OG Street Fighter where I'm playing Third Strike, I'm playing Marvel's Capcom 2, and I'm just fighting, and I don't knock somebody through a fucking building, and it takes like a good 10 seconds for us to get back to the point we can act with our characters again. Because like knockdowns are important in fighting games. Like they create tempo, they create situations, cross up situations, stuff like that. But when you knock a person through a fucking building, there's no cross up now. It's like, well, it resets to neutral.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that some people like that type of thing. I personally, for Smith, I just do not. Like I do not. So when I saw this Tekken 8 trailer, I was more so annoyed that they called it a gameplay trailer because that's what I thought I was getting, and it just was not that. It just wasn't.
It really wasn't.
Best art direction went to Elden Ring. This also was a category that God of War was in. I could see it going to two, either one of those two, because I watched a lot of Elden Ring gameplay. I've seen Kevin and I've seen Anthony playing it on stream on Critical Hit Plus. I've watched YouTube videos of Elden Ring. The game looks fucking fantastic. A lot of the bosses look really, really cool. There's like this flaming lion boss that you fight at one point would look really dope. Yeah. But yeah, art style, best art direction. I could see it going to literally either one of them. I have a PS5 finally. So now when I play God of War Ragnarok and having just played God of War 2018, PS4, the actual art and just the overall graphics of God of War Ragnarok is so breathtaking. And I don't know if it's just because the game is 4 years apart and they did better with what they had in general, or if the PS5 is actually just doing that much work, because it is blatantly much better looking than God of War 2018, like by a good margin. Like the faces, the way they move and everything about it is like really beautiful. So both of them, I can see it being either one.
Isn't it crazy? Like it is crazy just how like graphics do just keep getting better. Like when you look at the PS4 God of War, like, you're like, oh my, like not at this point. I'm old enough to not ever say like, oh, graphics will never get better than this, because like we know that's not true anymore. But sometimes it does feel hard to believe that graphics can get better than this, and like it keeps happening.
Yeah, God of War Ragnarok. When you go to Sindri's house for the first time, I kept staring. I on stream because I streamed the first 3 or so hours of me playing God of War Ragnarok. I streamed it on YouTube on our channel, the I'm their podcast channel, and people who were watching that stream will be like, "This looks fucking amazing." Like I literally got to Sindri's house and I just looked around. I literally looked at the environment. Like you could see in that video, I don't actually go to the marker to tell me to continue the story. I just observe my surroundings with using the R3 stick. Like I literally use the R3 to just look around and see how insane it all looks. So insane. But I totally get like either one of these winning. Elden Ring took it. And then we have best virtual reality / alternate reality game, which went to Moss Book 2. Never heard of it, never seen it. Best sim / strategy game went to Mario Rabbids. I actually did, when we did our Nintendo Direct review a while ago, I remember Mario Rabbids was coming out, and it does look funny. It does look kind of cool, like quirky.
Yeah, the game looks awesome. So I want to play it. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet. And once again, that's the thing I was talking about. Like I don't understand. Triangle Strategy wasn't even nominated, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
yes, hard agree. Best community support. They were talking about like Discord communities and like Facebook communities, I guess, and stuff like that. And it went to Final Fantasy XIV. This is Final Fantasy XIV's first award of the night. Then you have Games for Impact is an award, and that went to As Dusk Falls. After this, they show a trailer for Fire Emblem Engage. What is Fire Emblem Engage? Is it a mobile game, or is it like so? Because like the trailer looked cool. Like what I saw, dope as fuck. It looked very anime as hell. It looked very anime, very Genshin Impact. But I was like, is this a mobile game?
So I'm going to get Final Fantasy. Yeah, not Final Fantasy. Fire Emblem Engage the day it comes out. I just love Fire Emblem. This is the next mainline Fire Emblem game following Fire Emblem Three Houses. So this is, this is the next mainline Fire Emblem game. This is not a mobile game. This is a mainline game.
Okay, so it's a fully fleshed out Fire Emblem game.
Yeah, the direction of it is weird. Like, you know, I don't know, it's weird. It's supposed to be, from what I heard, like an anniversary type game. That's why they're bringing back like Marth, Ike, and all these other characters from old Fire Emblem games. But it looks really fun. The gameplay looks really good. I've kind of like resigned myself to not expect a good story from this one. Just like based on what I'm seeing, I feel like there's no way it's going to have a great story. Like this game just doesn't look like it's setting up to have a good story. I could be wrong. I'm going to play it regardless because I think the gameplay is going to be great and the story will be fun. But I'm not expecting it to have a good story. But, hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah, hopefully you're wrong, but I know the feeling you're describing because there was a point where the Tales game came out with a game called Tales of the World. I don't know if you ever heard of this or remember this.
I don't think I know that one.
There is a Tales of the World game that came out, and it was all the Tales games characters in one game, all the way up to like Tales of the Abyss at the time. And while that might sound like a fantastic idea, and it's really cool to see them all in battle, you can literally have, Senel from Tales of Legendia. You can have like literally everyone from all the Tales games is in it. The problem is the story was non-existent.
Yeah.
It was just battles on battles on battles, and seeing the characters do their iconic moves from each game, which is dope to see indignation from like, Jade or whatever, but then we're seeing it from Genus. But it doesn't mean anything if there's no actual plot. Like, why are these characters all together? And where's the cinematic? Where is something to make me say there's a reason why all these characters are together? Don't just bring them together for fan service for the sake of me liking these characters from different Tales games and having played a couple of them. That didn't really do it for me. So as I played it, I was like, this game is terrible. It's repetitive as fuck. After a while, the novelty wears off. I've seen indignation enough times. I've seen Fireball and Heal. Like, I've seen it enough. And it gets to a point like, okay, how many times am I going to watch Rain do Photon with no story? It just wasn't it.
Yeah.
So when you describe like seeing Marth and all these other characters in this game and scared for the story, I'm like, damn, that sounds exactly the way I felt about Tales of the World. Granted, at the time, I didn't know that Tales of the World would be terrible, but it was. Okay, so moving right along, there was a trailer for Diablo 4. I've never played a Diablo game. I know that it's a massive franchise. It has a really big fan base, cult like following, all that stuff. The trailer for this, though, looked really cool, if nothing else. It was like some woman praying and doing all of this stuff, and like this huge army behind her, and they're in what looks like hell, like actual fucking hell, and there's all of these demons, like this swarm, this crazy army of demons start charging her. She's praying. She's real calm about it too. And above her is this guy in this really crazy looking cool ass armor, and he has these wings made out of literally energy whips. The wings are literally whips of energy, and he's not saying anything, he's not doing anything, but as this girl is praying, the demon army is charging them, and she's not like afraid of it. And then she falls to her knees, puts her hands on the ground, and the demons are about to absolutely destroy and devour her and the rest of the people behind her. And the second they jump, like the second they make their first attack, the army behind her immediately starts to decimate them, and she never gets touched. Mind you, for whatever reason, she's in front of the army. So instead of her being behind them, she's in front of them. She is literally the first person that would be attacked if they were to get through with an attack. And the army behind her protects her so well that at no point does she raise her head while she's praying. She just like keeps doing her thing, and they keep defending her and stabbing at the demons. And then eventually the guy above them all, who with the crazy armor and wings, he comes down and he says, Lilith, I've come to hell just for you. And he like charges forward and he kills like a fucking 1,000 demons in one swing of his wings. And when he lands on the ground, his landing has like an earth shattering thing like the Dragon Ball Z characters do. And he like parts this big wave of demons to see this girl in the distance, who I guess is Lilith. And that's the trailer. The trailer is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, again, I do not play Diablo, but they had Halsey do a performance, and her performance, her live performance, led into this trailer seamlessly, because the way the performance was, it was like guys with robes on, like this really satanic looking shit going on. It was cool.
It was really cool. The whole
thing was cool as hell.
The live performance, something I like about the live performances of the Game Awards is I appreciate that they're always music from video games. Like, it's never, like, sometimes you see, like E3. I remember one year E3 had like, I don't fucking know, yes, like Plain White Tees or something. Like, I don't know, like just a random singer singing a random song that has nothing to do with like video games. And so I thought that was cool. And that's trailer,
when they used to.
Oh, I was going to say that trailer. we were just talking about the Diablo 4 trailer. It was so cool that, like, I was just not disappointed, but when I saw it was Diablo 4, just as somebody who's never really played Diablo, and, like, maybe I'll play them one day, but probably not because time. But as somebody who's never played Diablo, I saw that trailer and got so hyped for the trailer that when I saw us for, like, a franchise that I, like, Diablo 4, I was like, oh man, I'm probably never going to play this because it's like, I already haven't played the first 3 Diablos, and so I'm probably just not going to play this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially how I feel as well. Like, I don't really think I'm going to really play it. But we'll see. Like, that, you never know what time holds. I just wish that I can call myself at this point because, yeah, it's to that point where there's too many games that I see and I'm interested in them. Like, I'm interested in Hades too. I'm gonna be honest. The fight between her and that witch was so fucking cool to me that, like, I would take a chance on that franchise and roguelike games in general, the one that you play and Hades. But I don't really have the time these days to get into all the games that look awesome. I have to be interested in them and keep it moving, which really sucks.
That's something.
You only have one life to live, as far as I know.
To shout out roguelike games, that's something that's really good about them. The first Hades, probably the second Hades, Wizard of Legend, is if you get them on your Nintendo Switch, like that's a game you can play in your Uber. Like you can play those games. Like, they're really good short burst games.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so next is best sports racing game, Gran Turismo 7.
Bro,
I didn't know that.
I hate it. I'm gonna tell you why. We did an episode on it, our PS1 episode, where we talked about how absurd Gran Turismo is and, like, the number of copies this game has sold, and I just hate Gran Turismo just because I'm a hater. Like, I fully admit I'm being a hater, and I don't have real reasons, but I hate Gran Turismo, and I hate that it's the winning awards. Right.
So I was just gonna say, I just didn't know that Gran Turismo was still making games. Like, it has to have a cult-like following. There has to be, like, a really big community of people who like this, because there are we know our friend Lewis. He's a car guy, and he gets into these moments where he starts talking about cars, and he starts talking about all the technical shit about cars that we know nothing about and care nothing about.
Dude, it's so funny too, because he'll talk about it in a way where, like, obviously we know, like, obviously you know what I'm saying, and it's like, it sounds like when other people hear us talk about, like, Yu-Gi-Oh or something. Like, we're looking at Lou like, language. Bro, you didn't speak English. Like, I don't know what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah, and so, Gran Turismo has just never been it for me, but it's been around since I was a child. Like, it was on the first game that I learned how to really play, like the PlayStation 1. That's the game I really started to learn how to play games, and it was on that. So I've grown up technically around Gran Turismo, but the fact that it's still winning awards and it's on number 7 and all of that, it's impressive, but I don't really care for it. Best multiplayer game went to Splatoon 3. I don't really have much to say about that.
It's one of those instances. I don't remember what the other nominations are.
Neither. I think Multiverses was in this category, actually.
But
I think Splatoon, Multiverses, and that's about it for me, though, as far as what I remember.
It's one of those things, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know when Splatoon 3 came out exactly, but I do feel like it's still really new, but I don't know. Like, I think it's older than God of War, but...
Right.
I do still feel like it's pretty new, but I don't know.
I'm going to do a quick Google search to see when the release date was. I'm not seeing anything yet. Let's see. Splatoon 3... God damn it. That is not what I want. I wanted the Wikipedia page and it gave me
some bullshit.
Let me see, release date. I guess I should just type in September 8th. So pretty late, but, like, if the cutoff, like we said earlier, October 1st, something like that, maybe September 30th. Sure.
Yeah.
People got 2 months. Okay, people had a minimum before the nominations came out. People had a minimum of 2 months with this game, which I think is, like, you can figure out if this is a great multiplayer game.
Yeah, I agree.
In that period, but still, September is pretty late. Not going to harp on it too much again. Best audio design went to God of War. I don't really have much to say about this. I think the music is fantastic.
I think not even just music. What I assume audio design means is that other stuff, like how we were talking about in the first reboot God of War game, where, like, you're on the boat and you go into a cave, and then so, like, the conversation starts to echo. Like, that's all audio design, and, like, the new God of War games have, like, an unparalleled audio design into how it all.
Really do. There was a point where I was playing because this is all Ragnarok. There was a point where I was playing last night, and there was this character that called out to me from a distance. And as I got closer, because she kept talking, as I got closer to her, she got louder and louder, like how it would be in real life. And that little thing is impressive. Like you take it for granted, but that is impressive. Games that used to do that.
Yeah.
And so what do they call it? Proximity. Like the proximity sound design is amazing in God of War. I heard that Call of Duty recently in their latest game now has proximity sound as well. So Call of Duty has been out for 20 fucking years, and for the first time ever, they have proximity audio, which means when you get close to somebody that you just killed, you can hear the people on their party on their microphone talking. Like when people are yelling and saying, bro, he's in the hallway. If you're close to the dead body, you hear other players chat. And a lot of people who play Yu-Gi-Oh! Who also play Call of Duty, they were going on Facebook and saying how funny it is and how it's the best thing that ever happened to Call of Duty. Like hearing other human beings on an opposing team try to give advice, like, yo, he's just shot me from a distance, or he sniped me, he's above the building, he's like just yelling, like that kind of stuff. They think it's so cool. But yeah, that is something that I guess we take for granted in real life and how it works. And just seeing it in games now is making games more immersive. So I do like that about God of War, and I almost forgot that was something we spoke about in the God of War actual episode of the podcast. Okay. After that, Content Creator of the Year went to Ludwig.
I knew he was going to win this. Just as a side note, no question. Ludwig, like, it's so crazy knowing him as just like, he was just a Smash guy. And not even just a Smash, like, he was literally just like a random Smash guy. He was like Slime's sidekick. Like, there's this, like, most people don't know who Slime is. Like, Ludwig kind of came up through this other Smash content creator named Slime. He was just kind of like Slime's sidekick. And then at some point, he became like the biggest fucking streamer on the planet. And just became this huge fucking content creator. So, shout out to Ludwig. He's doing the thing.
After that, most anticipated game went to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. The other thing that was in this category was Final Fantasy XVI. That's the only thing that I was interested in outside of Zelda. Not surprised about this. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is following Breath of the Wild. Like, you said what? It is
like most anticipated. Like, I don't know. It's just like. The games were mostly, I don't know, it's weird. It's like you can't win. Like, how do you win that? I don't know. Like, it's so weird.
I don't think it should be an award. I think it is strange for it to be an award. I think it should more so just be like a thing that they announce that the community voted on. It should be an open vote, right? Like, it should just be you open up a poll, you have it voted on. But as far as awarding the producers of the game before the game has even dropped, before any real gameplay has come out, is definitely strange.
It's a weird award.
Like, and I don't care what won.
Yeah. I'm saying this as like a huge Zelda stan. Award
because I just feel like it's a weird thing to be awarded. Like, you have the most anticipated game, because theoretically, if Zelda announced a game every year, it could be the most anticipated game every time they announce a game. The same way, like, if God of War announced the trilogy's end with God of War, like Odin's Demise, or whatever the fuck the third one is going to be called, like, it could also be most anticipated game, and they could just do this every time. Like, we're just going to announce a game, just announce it, and that will just be the most anticipated game. So, like, I don't think it's an award, but, like, sure, to announce at the Game Awards, and this is what the community thinks is the most anticipated game of the year, and then they just say, like, okay. But yeah, to actually have people come up and accept an official award just seems strange. Okay, Horizon Zero Dawn Burning Shores is coming out, apparently.
Yeah, they announced 2 Horizon things. Yeah. They announced a VR Horizon game, and they announced, I think this is DLC for the most recent, and then like a DLC, I think. I think they're 2 different things for Horizon. I'm not 100% sure.
I did see multiple Horizon things during this Game Awards, but Burning Shores was the one that I wrote down, and it looked cool. It looked like every other Horizon game in the sense that, okay, well, one thing that was really cool is that they had Hollywood, the actual Hollywood, California, right? And you saw the Hollywood sign being destroyed by this robot creature. And I understand it's a post-apocalyptic world where machines have kind of taken over and merged with life. So, like, she's flying on some kind of bird-like mechanical thing, and all of the enemies are mechanical to some degree. I've never played a single Horizon game, but from what I understand, they're fucking fantastic. They're beautiful.
Fuck.
They're like...
I'm sorry. Excuse me. God damn it.
Really cool games.
Oh my god.
Sneeze?
I just like triple sneezed, and I don't know if you heard it or not. I guess not, but I just died. Fuck. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
I feel like another one's coming. I don't know what's happening.
I think maybe because of the raining where we are right now in the world. But...
I just sneezed 4 times. That never happens to me.
It also starts to hurt after a while.
Yeah.
Like after a good minute, sneezing is just unpleasant. Like at first, sneezing kind of feels good. It's like, okay, I got, this out.
Yeah.
But then you can get to a point where like
your eyes are watering and shit.
Hurting me. Yeah, like please stop. Please stop, because you're convulsing, right? Like you're fucking actually convulsing. After Horizon Zero Dawn, there was Best Action Game. Bayonetta 3 won Best Action Game. There was some cool looking game called Blue Protocol that came out. Blue Protocol is coming out, I should say, in 2023.
That game did look really cool.
Go ahead. Did you want to say something about Blue Protocol?
Yeah.
It just looked dope. Like, I don't even know what else to say about it. It just looked cool. Look up the trailer if you haven't seen it, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, but there was a lot of trailers that I get really zoned out on gun game. Like, there's a lot of trailers that are just gun game. And they zone me out pretty hard. Like, I'm just like, all right, whatever.
Yep.
But then, like, as soon as Weeb game happens, like, I'm like, ooh, what's this?
Oh, we go up for Weeb game. But Blue Protocol looked like a Tales game.
Yeah.
It really just looks like a Xenoblade. It looks like a Xenoblade / Tales game. I just typed it on Google and looked at images. This game looks fucking phenomenal. Like, it looks like something that me and you would for sure play. I am hard pressed to believe, because it's made by Bandai Namco. But, like, if I'm being honest, this just looks like Xenoblade to me, like a Xenoblade spinoff, to be perfectly honest. Looking at this picture that I have up right now, it looks like it just looks like Xenoblade. It really does.
Yeah.
It looks like Xenoblade. I'm going to send this to you on Discord just so you can see what I mean. And in the meantime, we'll just continue. But this, you can't tell me that this specific picture, look at your Discord right now, this specific picture screams Xenoblade to me.
Let me see.
Like that background is such a Xenoblade cover art background.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That just looks like Xenoblade, right?
I thought the same thing. Like, I looked at it. It does... Like, I think I'm pretty sure you already said this, but, like, Xenoblade and Genshin Impact, like, it... Yes, like, it just looks like... Because it has, like, the landscape, like, it feels Xenoblade-y, but then, like, the character model looks like Genshin Impact-y.
It definitely looks like Genshin, yep.
But the game looks really cool.
Tails. Yeah, it looks dope. It looks like something that we would play. So we can check that out when it actually comes out. Best score and music. So this is more direct. To God of War. Mm-hmm. Innovation and accessibility.
I think that was also God of War, right? Yeah. I heard God of War had excellent accessibility options, which is really important because I actually have quite a few friends that are colorblind in different ways. Some people, I know some people that can only see red and green. That's the only thing they can see. They cannot see any other colors but red and green. They see shades of red and green. I know other people that are colorblind in other ways, like yellows, I think. I don't know the specifics, but
yeah.
I know red and green 100%. I've talked to my one friend about it a lot, and there's a lot of games he simply can't play. Like, for example, Smash Ultimate. The only stage he plays on in Smash Ultimate is the Fatal Fury stage, Terry Bogard stage, because it's a flat stage with walls, and like you can't fall off of it, and it's like, and the reason why is because he has a very hard time playing on normal Smash stages because it becomes hard to tell where the edge is, and like he can just like fall off the edge because like it's hard for him to even just see the difference.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So accessibility options are very important.
I like that is something that's awarded because what that does is incentivize producers and game developers to put that type of stuff in their games. 100%. So the fact that they blatantly made it and called it out as something that is like going to be awarded is dope to me.
I agree.
Because they know exactly what they're doing. You're just going to incentivize game developers to put that in the game. Best role-playing game went to Elden Ring. There's a award for player's voice, which is literally voted on by people. That went to Genshin Impact.
All right, real quick. Do you know the backstory to that?
No.
Okay, so leading up to this, right, on Reddit, I was seeing these really weird pictures, right? Like, it was a picture of Sonic the Hedgehog and, like, a girl from Genshin Impact. And it was just, like Sonic called her a cheater, and the other one called Sonic a cheater, and then like they looked at each other really mad, and then they just started kissing. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I saw like pictures of like Sonic and the girls from Genshin Impact like fucking and shit, and the girls fucking Sonic. And I was like, I was so, because it was out of nowhere. And I was like, what the fuck is happening in the Genshin and Sonic community? Like, what are you guys doing? And then finally, what I found out was, this award was happening, and the Genshin Impact community and Sonic community were essentially both using bots to bot vote their games to get their game. That's why he made that joke.
After we removed all the bots.
Yes, because there was this huge bot vote
I didn't know
war
what was going on
between these two communities, and it created some weird fucking fan art. It was the weirdest shit ever. It was just like this whole goddamn thing that happened.
Okay. After that, best indie game, we mentioned it earlier, but Stray won that. Best action adventure game, God of War. Best ongoing game, Final Fantasy XIV, its second award of the night. Final Fantasy XIV has been out for like a fucking decade.
It wins that game and wins that award every year.
Yeah, because it's on. So that's the ignorant thing. It's ongoing, right? So ongoing literally means just that. This game can technically win every year until something comes along that. So the game would have to come along, but it also have to be out for a long time to even be worthy of dethroning Final Fantasy XIV. Otherwise, this category is just going to be Final Fantasy XIV every year, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, best game direction, Elden Ring. So after that long list, because the guy was just rapid firing at that point. After that, Armored Core 6 got a trailer, and I randomly, as a kid, I don't know why, but I was just like absurdly addicted to Armored Core. Like I would just by myself. No one in my room, no friends over. I would just load up Armored Core, spend like 2 hours creating mechs, then spend 20 seconds going into actual battles with them. And it's something I loved doing as a kid. Hasn't really like interested me doing that as an adult. But if I were to be able to play this game and not have to pay $70 for it, I could see myself just using that as like a therapeutic thing, because I just like creating mechs, I guess. But it did look cool, the trailer. It's a 2023 game, so it looks fucking insane now. Like Armored Core that I used to play was really PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 maybe, but definitely nowhere near the level of graphics that they have nowadays. So it looked really nice.
So something really funny about this was that trailer started. Now, I've heard of Armored Core before. I've never really played it. Never known much about the franchise, which is funny because I do think it's a game I would like. But
yeah, it's not bad.
So the trailer starts. It says From Software, right? And so we know them, Dark Souls, etc. Elden Ring. And so the trailer starts, and it's like this mech trailer. It looks like a Gundam game. And we're watching it, and it's so fucking funny, because we're like, oh, this looks really cool. And at this point, I didn't know From Software made Armored Core. It's a game I've heard of before, but I didn't know anything about it, really. Anyway, the trailer's going on, and at some point, Anthony goes, this is really cool. Has From Software ever done anything like this? This is really interesting. Like, this is something new for them. It's really cool that they're doing this. And then, like, right after saying that, it's like Armored Core 6. And I was laughing so hard. I was like, yes, Ant, they've done it 5 times. Like, yes, they have done it before. 5 times, in fact.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Armored Core is it's a cool game. If you like mechs, if you just like going into creation screens and fiddling with things. Basically, what's filled that void for me, and I didn't even realize until just now, this is going to be a really weird correlation, but I think it makes sense.
Monster Hunter.
Kingdom Hearts gummy ships.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought you were going to say, like, fiddling in menus and tinkering with your armor set. I thought you were going to say Monster Hunter.
Nah, Kingdom Hearts gummy ships. I have spent so much time in the Kingdom Hearts games literally just doing gummy ship stuff.
Same.
I mean hours. Like, actual fucking hours on just the gummy ship part of Kingdom Hearts games. I love it so much. In fact, in most Kingdom Hearts games, to get Ultimate Weapon, you do need to actually do gummy ship stuff anyway.
Yep.
Like literally, to get Orichalcum Plus, you need to do gummy ship stuff. And honestly, it's not easy gummy ship stuff. I think that if you don't put actual time and devotion to it, maybe on YouTube now, because it's been so many years, probably some guy who can do it with like the fucking base ship, and I just hate that. But back when I actually played the game and I beat it in like less than 2 days, I had to actually like put time and effort in my gummy ship and make it really powerful and all this other stuff. But yeah, gummy ship thing kind of filled that void of tinkering with mechs and just creating them to be really ridiculous, even if they don't necessarily look the best. At least in Armored Core, they look really cool. My gummy ship, not so much. But that's a story for another day. The next trailer was probably for me the best moment of the entire Game Awards. Final Fantasy XVI's trailer. This shit looked really dope. I get excited for every Final Fantasy game when it comes out, no matter what. Like I always, because it's such a big part of my childhood. No matter how bad the last couple Final Fantasy games have been, outside of 7 Remake was fucking one of the best RPGs I've ever played in my life. But outside of that, the Final Fantasy games I played before that, like 15 and 13, were just not good games. And I'm really excited for 16 because it's definitely a new take on, like it always is, but this one looks like an extreme new take on the fighting system, and the storyline looks really cool. The main character, Clive, I hate that name, but Clive he has the spirit of Ifrit, it seems like, inside of him, and he can transform into Ifrit. And there's a really cool part in this trailer. He was like, "Come forth, Ifrit!" He screams it out as like Shiva is crushing him, it seems. And he transforms in Ifrit and punches her, and they start fighting back and forth. At one point, I thought I saw either Bahamut or Tiamat. And there's a lot of cool cinematic stuff, as there always is in Final Fantasy games. But I'm really excited for this game. It comes out next year, 2023, June 2023. Tears of the Kingdom will be out by then. So this is a conflict just like Monster Hunter was with other games, like when we played Bravely Default 2 or Bravely Second. Monster Hunter was coming out literally within a month after that. And so I feel like I'm going to be in like this weird time crunch where I'm going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm going to want to play this new Final Fantasy game. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But this Final Fantasy game, to me, looks amazing. And I'm just excited for it. I love Final Fantasy games.
Hell yes.
I always will. No matter how many times they disappoint me these days. Although, I'll say, my most recent Final Fantasy game was phenomenal. It was 7 Remake. So they are right now on a really good, like, rapport with me, and Final Fantasy is really good right now. Because of 7 Remake and how successful that game was and how good it was, it has a really good rapport for me right now. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, for me, I'm not too excited for it yet, just because I don't know if I'll even have a PS5, etc. Like, it probably won't come out on PC right away. So, like, to me, I'm just, like, kind of leaving FF16 out of my mind at the moment, because I don't even know if I'm going to get to play it right away. And, like, you know, when I get there, I'll get there.
Yeah. Okay, what else we got? Game of the Year. So, biggest award of the night. Game of the Year was obviously between God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring. Elden Ring won. I believe we said that in the beginning. Yeah, Elden Ring won Game of the Year. And this is where like some weird trolly shit happened, where all of the Japanese people came up talking about the actual game and like how they're thankful for it. And apparently they didn't expect it to be as big as it was. I think articles have come out since the Game Awards saying how the creators of Elden Ring did not expect it to be what it eventually was, how big it is. But then there was like this kid standing behind them, and I only found out about this today. I actually watched the Game Awards today, so no matter what, I would have found out about it today, right? But I watched the Game Awards today. I didn't even notice that there was like this whole meme fiasco troll thing that happened where this random white kid was standing behind the Japanese people on stage, and then after they made their speeches, thankfully he at least was respectful enough to let them say everything they wanted to say. And then he's like, wait, before we go, he talks about, I want to give a shout out to my like Bill Clinton rabbi, Orthodox. He says,
I want to like nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox rabbi, Bill Clinton. And like the internet immediately like memed him up and like loved it. And it was kind of, I was saying this earlier before we got on the podcast, like when it was happening, I immediately knew that he was out of place. What I said specifically, I was like, whose stepson is on stage? Because I was like, one of these things don't belong. I was like, somebody's stepson is on stage. Like, what is he doing there? He's so awkward. Like, why is he there? There was also parts where I could tell he was trying to get in the shot. Like it looked like he was trying to like awkwardly move around and like be in the shot and everything. I was like, this is so awkward. What is he doing here? Like, this guy shouldn't be here. And then turns out he wasn't supposed to be there, and he got arrested afterwards. Apparently, some of his friends knew he was going to do this. There's like Discord chat logs of people, like when he went up there, people being like, holy shit, that's my friend. Like, I can't believe he's up there. He said he was going to do this. He want to shout out his rabbi. And so, like, some people knew this was going to happen. But the thing that's crazy to me is that, like, it even happened. I was saying that if I was nominated for an award, and I'm walking up there with my posse, and, like, some like, who's this kid? Like, I'm not going to just, like, let this kid come. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like get away. Like, I don't understand how he got up there. And it's
what I think it was, though, Kenny? I think it was a cultural thing. I think that the Japanese people who were up on stage honestly didn't know.
Yeah,
they weren't, like, comfortable voicing it because, like, a lot of times they don't even show up. Like, a lot of times they don't even show up to stuff like this. So for them to be there was one thing. But the other thing is, like, they probably were just as confused as people watching or, like, the people in the audience. And I think if it was American people, like, honestly, if God of War won, right? Because God of War just had a bunch of American representatives. So if God of War won, and, like, let's say Christopher Judge goes up, the Atreus kid goes up, because God of War had all these awards, and all different people accepted God of War awards throughout the night. I noticed, like, literally every award was accepted by somebody completely different for God of War. So if all those people went up, if it won God a Game of the Year, I would hope that them all being, like, English speaking people would probably look around and be like, okay, well, who are you? Because you are not on the team. I've never seen you in my life.
Yeah.
But I think that the Japanese people were just kind of like,
that's what I think happened. Yeah.
And it kind of sucks that he took advantage of them. Maybe necessarily he was going to do it to no matter who won, so it didn't matter what culture they were from. But it kind of sucks that it happened to be people who couldn't even do anything about it.
Yeah, that were just like, it was just really weird and awkward and shit. It was just like,
it wasn't funny either. I just want to put that out there. I just didn't think it was a funny moment. To me, what he said wasn't funny. Like, I watched it after the Game Awards and before this call, and, like, it just wasn't.
It's just kind of like cringe. It's just like, all right,
it was very, that's the exact word. It was fucking cringe. But that was the end of the show. It's a pretty cool show. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed us kind of just doing a recap of the Game Awards. This is something that we'll be doing obviously every year, us being a nerd podcast, and we get a lot of promise, a lot of games to look forward to, games that we may never play, but we just have the desire to one day be able to.
It's fun to be. It's fun to be in that moment, like, oh, like, this game looks so cool, like Hades 2, etc. Like, even if you don't play all of the games.
Protocol, I really think we'll play, though. If Blue Protocol is, like, a real game, like, if it's not some bullshit, Genshin Impact, I think we'll actually play. So if we got nothing else, Hades 2 and Blue Protocol are, like, actually up to be played.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's like, you see so many things, and it's really cool to just be in that moment where everybody's talking about it. Like, oh, man, like, did you see this trailer? This was really cool. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, agree. Let me give a shout out to the people on our Patreon. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. We really appreciate it. This is going to be a holiday month. So at the end of the year, like Christmas, New Year's, that's when we'll take our December break. We take a break every month, just like 2 episodes off. So we'll just do it when everyone will just be with their family or, like, celebrating the holidays and stuff like that.
Yep.
But and we'll also have a December exclusive episode coming out that is only on Patreon. Also, if you haven't already and you're on our Patreon in the party member tier, we have started uploading our new series, The Master and the Pupil, where I play with Kenny's cousin Stango on Dueling Book. We play Edison format. We pick a deck. One of us plays, either him or I, and we just kind of go and play randoms and record it and talk about our plays and just figure out, like, why are we doing what we're doing? What do we think he has, the way he's playing and stuff like that. It's really fun. And each one of these videos has been over an hour long, and they're only like 2 duels, like 1 or 2 duels, but they're an hour long and they're really, really fun. Like, I enjoy doing it a lot, and they're spontaneous. So we don't have a necessarily schedule for them, but there's already 3 episodes on there. We actually have a 4th episode recorded already, and it's kind of just in the tuck waiting to be uploaded, but I don't want to upload them too fast. I kind of like having a little library of them. But yeah, check out Master and the Pupil if you're interested in that thing. The first 2 episodes are actually uploaded on YouTube for everyone to see. So if it's something that you like and you want to support, you want to have access to going forward, it will be on Patreon as an exclusive thing. So I've already updated our Patreon. When you look at the benefits for all the tiers, you can see that one of them is new if you've been, like, on the fence about joining it. Master of the Pupil was recently added to our Patreon benefits as an official thing that we offer as a benefit to you guys. Mind you, the price didn't go up or anything like that for that tier. It's just like an incentive for people to join it for just more content, because I feel like people who join our Patreon, like, I want you to get something out of it. I want you to feel like if you're going to support us and pay for it, like, you do get something out of it. And we appreciate the support no matter what. Like, even at the $3 tier, if you just want access to the Discord, we appreciate that too. If you want the $20 tier, you want, like, to be able to duel Kenny or I and stuff like that, we appreciate that as well. I will say this, because most people don't actually use the shadow game thing where you can duel us in the highest tier, but I'm going to revise it after this month. So we have a shadow game coming up with pretty much the only person who actually uses that benefit, Quest. We have a duel coming up. It's going to be September 2020 ban list. And after that, because I thought about this long and hard and like what makes sense for Kenny and I'm going to revise the shadow game. The shadow game can only take place going forward in GOAT format or Edison format. And it just makes sense for Kenny and I because it's so much of a time commitment for us to try to learn a format that we literally did not play in. It doesn't really make much sense for us to do that. So for the sake of our like lives, we're going to restrict it down to the Edison format or GOAT format because we actually play both of those formats. We know how to play it. Like it wouldn't be crazy for us to pick up a deck and play anybody in a shadow game. So basically it just makes it more accessible for us. And I think it also will promote Edison format in general because most people just probably want to play Edison format. But if somebody wanted to play GOATs, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But yeah, after this month, after December 2022, I'll be editing the $20 tier to say, like, you can play us in a shadow game once a month. It will be recorded and it'll be uploaded, on the channel. But it will be Edison format or GOAT format. And I think that that's totally fair because in order for us to, if somebody said we want to challenge you in like right now, like I don't play Shizu tier. I don't know how to play Shizu tier. I don't play Fundaries, but I would have to fucking learn how to actually play that format from scratch, which is not the fantasy. So I don't want to have to like hold up the shadow game and tell the person like, oh, I have to like keep researching and stuff like that. It creates more problems. I had good intentions when I wrote that for the Patreon, but it just does not actually pan out that way. Don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Regularly.
And it's just like too hard to keep up like with shit like a Seizure tier, like trying to like learn how to play that.
That is an entire study session.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. It would take several hours to like play a Shizu tier, right? Like if somebody challenged you right now with the shadow game thing and like, I want to play a Shizu tier mirror match, like what the fuck? Like I don't even know what you would do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know what you would like. They would just combo you and you'd be like, all right, like Congratulations, right? So but yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Anyways, we have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garant, Xavier, Hylian, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Giovanni Avalos, Andre Reynolds, CJ, Dub K Dad 1, Dan Vrabel, First to Home, Estat Akuma, Mitchell Nels, Midwest Gaming, Dimitri Sophiris, Vance Marquette, Dallas Bailey, Roz Weiss, Nick Stango, Hansel, our two-time national champion, Vincent Zen, Sarah Maria, Sunny Top Cut Podcast, Alex Ahern, Philip Campa, Jalen Haskins, Arale Melfi Slump, Kang Petty, Chris Lynn, and Jeff Lang. Thank you guys so much for supporting I'm Their Podcast. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way. And before we get out of here, don't forget what I always say. Do what makes you happy, including watching the Game Awards and seeing some awkward moments, but also seeing some really cool moments too. Anyways, we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Good night, day, week, month, year.